What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy Noah J here, back on your screens with another video, and welcome back to another episode of the Lock In Podcast. If you guys already been here, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back. And if you guys are new, hey, thank you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. So guys, as you can see by the title, today's topic that we will be discussing will be comparing generations. Gen Z versus Gen Y. What's up, y'all? It is Editing Noah J here. So y'all, I forgot to go into the definition of what the different generations are for those of you who don't know. So Generation X is the older generation. That is if you're born with like the 1965 to like the 1970s, the 1980s, things like that. So it's the older generation. So our parents, who are in their 40s, 50s, different things like that. Generation Z is our generation. So 1996 to 2012, if you were born in that year. So like 12 to 27, the younger generation. So that's our generation. And millennials, you guys will hear me mention that throughout the video as well. That is the generation after Generation X. So that is like if you were born in 1981 to 1966, that is, ages like 28 to like 40 or like something like that. So that is what that means. And yeah, enjoy the video. But y'all, before we get into that, y'all already know I gotta bust y'all out with a little disclaimer real quick. All topics and everything discussed in this podcast is my personal opinions, thoughts, and views and are not meant to hurt, harm, or offend anybody watching. I am open to any and all feedback as long as it stays positive. No negativity is allowed. All right, y'all. Also, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you can be notified every time Noah J pops up on your screen. Y'all also follow my social media icons above and it'll be in the description box below. All right, y'all, with all that being said, let's go ahead and hop right into this video. All right, y'all, so as I said, today's topic is going to be comparing generations. And y'all, we're just going to go ahead and hop right in. So y'all, this topic is a very broad issue that I see with this society nowadays. And I see it happen a lot. I see a lot of heated discussions about it, people getting into it with each other over it. And it's just a lot of comparing the generations thing between the older generation and the younger generation. And it just seems like it's a lot of negativity that surrounds more negativity from the older generation projecting onto the younger generation, And I really don't understand why we need to compare generations anyway, because both generations have their flaws, both generations have their differences, and neither generation is bad. Both generations operate in different ways and have different things and grew up in different time zones. That's all it is. So I really don't understand why we get to comparing generations or why it's such a negative outlook that surrounds that, because both generations are not perfect. With that being said, let's jump straight into my first talking point. So y'all, comparing generations, I really feel like this stems from the older generation, and I hate to call y'all out, but I will. Y'all, I really feel like this stems from the older generation because our parents, our older grandparents, different things like that. And I want to go into their personal issue with the younger generation. Generation Y, Generation Millennial, whatever you want to call it. Y'all, from what I've seen, their issue with the younger generation is really that they don't like, how we operate in our generation, the music we listen to, the type of things that we do, twerking, smoking weed. I don't smoke weed, by the way. Smoking weed and, going out to clubs and different things like that. And they just have a very negative viewpoint and negative outlook on our generation as a whole because they either don't agree with what we've done or they want to vicariously live through us. And y'all, what I mean to say by that is a lot of people in the older generation, especially people who are parents, want to vicariously live through their kids because they start to develop this jealousy because they weren't able to do everything or to be as free as their kids are at this age than they were at their age. Like, our parents, they had kids very young. They had to take care of their kids. It was in different time zones. They didn't have internet. They didn't have phones. They didn't have all the resources and the things that we have now. And they also didn't have that much freedom, because they had strict parents and different things like that. So they weren't able to be as free and to be able to do a lot of things that the younger generation, our generation, is able to do now. Y'all, I think that their issue really is, I think it's jealousy. I honestly think that's what it is. I think it's jealousy. I also think it's a little bit of hate depending on what person in the older generation is coming from. Because You hear a lot of older people say like, oh, y'all generation is this, y'all generation is cursed, y'all generation is always twerking, y'all love listening to this ratchet music, y'all don't need to be going out to clubs, all y'all care about is social media, all y'all care about is phones. Like, just a lot of negativity, you know, that they project onto our generation because they don't agree with it or because they don't like the way our generation is, this, that, and the third. And what kills me about that is and this is towards my older generation folks. Y'all are the ones who made this generation. Like, y'all were the generation before us. So if anything, y'all were supposed to be the example. Y'all were supposed to be the example, and y'all were supposed to be, you know, the stepping stone. And granted, our parents did amazing jobs. I know I had parents who did amazing jobs. Some people did their amazing jobs, but I'm talking about like the people in the older generation, the negative people. I'm not talking about the ones who worked their behinds off and did what they needed to do and provided for their kids and this, that, and that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the older generation as a whole, because a lot of them do it. And it's like, y'all were the example. And my whole thing is like, the reason why a lot of people in the older generation weren't able to do the things that we do is because it was a different time back then. But it's also because they had kids young. Y'all couldn't go out to no club. Y'all couldn't go out and just, you know, hang out with friends every day or go to the amusement parks and things like that. Y'all had kids young, very young, and y'all had responsibilities. So y'all had to go work a job. Y'all had to provide for y'all kids. But it's also a choice to have kids as well, if we're really talking about it. Like, y'all chose to have kids young. You know, y'all also had sex at a very young age, which is how a lot of us got here now. This is how you know, Gen Z was made, because Gen X and Generation Millennial, same thing, had us young. They had us when they were 16, 17. So that resulted in us being here now, and that's how our generation grew. So, y'all, I say all that to say, the older generation, y'all were supposed to be the example. So my whole thing is like, a lot of the things that the younger generation does now is really from the older generation. Having sex young. There was weed back then in the day, back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. You know, y'all smoked cigarettes back in the day. Y'all did different type of things. So let's not sit over here and act like y'all generation is so perfect, because it's not. Because a lot of people, the older generation, love to talk about how the younger generation is this and how the younger generation is that. But y'all generation wasn't perfect. Y'all were having sex while y'all were minors in high school. And y'all were, you know, sneaking out of your parents' house and doing things that and the third. So what do you think the younger generation is going to do? And then my whole thing is, if it was okay for y'all to do it at that age, why isn't it okay for, well, it's not okay, period. But y'all can't do something and then, you know, make it seem like our generation is cursed or something is wrong with our generation because we followed in the same footsteps of stuff that you did. And that doesn't mean that it makes it right for us to do it because the older generation did it. But if you didn't want us to do it, maybe you shouldn't have did it. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, y'all, like, I really feel like some people in the older generation, I really feel like it's just jealousy, you know, because they had it harder than we did. You know, I'm not gonna say that the younger generation, we have it easy, but you know, we definitely have we have a lot more resources now. Things are a lot more easier for us. Things are a lot more, you know, they're not as hard. I wouldn't say they're easy. We still have our own individual struggles, but it's definitely not as difficult. But yeah, I just feel like, you know, with the older generation, that's where the comparing generations thing stems from, because they get mad, they get upset, they see us, you know, doing certain things, and because they weren't able to do it at their age, they start to develop this jealousy and this hate towards us, and they project that onto our generation because they weren't able to do these things, which is completely unfair to our generation if you ask me. So that brings me to my next talking point, y'all, the younger generation's response to this. So I'm going to talk about my generation for a second so that the older people don't feel like I am dragging them, because I'm not dragging you, girl. But I want to talk about the younger generation for a second. The younger generation response to this is not great. Not great at all. A lot of people in the younger generation, from what I've seen, feel like it's jealousy. They feel like it's a lot of hate, and they don't understand why the older generation, you know, gets so angry or gets so upset at them for simply living their life. Being upset because the younger generation had it easier. If anything, like, you should be happy that your kids have it easier. You should be happy that the younger generation, we have what we have. And then not even that we have what we have. The older generation has it too. Y'all just have it at an older age. Like, y'all have cell phones. Y'all have all the resources that we have, the technology. Y'all have all of that. Y'all just have it in y'all 50s and y'all 60s, and we just have it at a younger age than y'all. That's all it is. But y'all still have the same things that we have. So there's no sense to compare the generations, because you're not missing out on anything. Everything that we have now as the younger generation, the older generation has access to. Y'all just have it at an older age. So it's not like y'all are missing out or we have social media and y'all don't. Everybody has it now. So it's not, no, it's not that serious. So I say all that to say, y'all, a lot of people feel like, you know, parents and older people are just, you know, being upset and just projecting that onto their kids and projecting that onto, the younger generation as a whole. And a lot of people honestly feel like the older generation is way too concerned and way too worried about what the younger generation is doing. The older generation is not perfect. And the younger generation makes a good point. Our generation makes a good point of, okay, well, y'all were doing this, that, and the third at y'all age as well. So what makes y'all any different than us? Because a lot of people in the older generation seem to think that their generation is better, or that, because they grew up in a different time zone, that somehow their generation is better than ours because they did, things at a younger age, or because it wasn't, as strict back then. That doesn't make it better. Like, y'all did what y'all did. That doesn't make y'all better. Each generation has their problems. Each generation has different things about them that is bad. But the thing about the older generation doesn't give us credit for the good things that's in our generation. Our generation is not all bad, and their generation is not all bad. The older generation put some great tools and provided some great examples for the younger generation to come into. Like, we are blessed to have the older generation, and the older generation is blessed to have us, because the older generation, they weren't a bad generation. Like, they did pretty good given the fact that they were young and, growing up without social media. Our parents, our grandparents, they did their thing. They really did. And the younger generation, we doing our thing too, y'all. Like, I just, let's just go ahead and put it out there. We eating them up. Like, we not eating them up, girl, but yeah, we do be eating folks up nowadays, y'all. We be doing our thing. Like, we a good generation. And I just feel like the older generation, back to my point, they don't give us a lot of credit about, the good things about our generation, like the social media, the fact that the younger generation is talented. We got some talented individuals. We got, some individuals that know how to have fun. We got young people with businesses and things like that. Like, we are a very succeeding generation. And so is the older generation, but like, we are really succeeding. Like, we do amazing things. And our generation isn't all bad. We don't always make the best decisions. We're young. Our parents didn't always make the best decisions either, but we're not a bad generation. And I feel like if the older generation stopped focused on everything that's so negative about our generation, they will be able to see more positive things about our generation. Because like I said, y'all, it's not all bad. The problem is everybody wants to focus on what's so bad about each generation instead of giving credit for the things that is good. So yeah, y'all, with the younger generation, our response really to this is, just let us live. Like, let us live. Let us be in our generation. Our generation is not perfect, but our generation does the damn thing. Like, let us live. Let us have fun, but don't be mad at us because you didn't have it at our age. That's not our fault. So don't project that negativity onto the younger generation, or being jealous and wanting to vicariously live through, the younger generation or your kids or this, that, and the third, because they have it more easier than you did, at your age. That's not our fault. We can't help. We didn't ask to be born in this generation. We just were. So jumping into my last talking point, you guys, I just feel like instead of comparing generations and trying to make one better than the other, why don't we support each other's generation? Why don't we lift each other up? Why don't we, because both generations need each other. The younger generation, we wouldn't be here if it was for the older generation. So a lot of the younger generation folks be thinking, oh yeah, we don't need y'all generation. Y'all was it. No, we needed their generation. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be a generation. So I just feel like we need to support each other more. Like, we need to stop focusing on everything that's so negative about each generation, because each generation is going to have something negative about it. That's just how it goes. But if we support each other as a generation and just understand that we were born in different times and that things were different back then than it is now, and just understanding that, each generation is good. We can all eat together. It doesn't need to be a comparison. It doesn't need to be a back and forth. Each generation is good. So I feel like if we just stop focusing on everything that's so negative and just support each other and show each other more support as a generation, it'll be a lot better. Like, we're not perfect, guys. The older generation is not perfect. The younger generation is not perfect. But we need to stop with the trying to compare generations and trying to make one better than the other. Like, it's unnecessary. We love our generation. Our generation ain't perfect. Like I said, we love our generation. We turn up. We go out to parties. We shake our butts, or whatever the case may be. Older generation, y'all did y'all thing. Like, I give the older generation, I give y'all praise. I give y'all credit. Y'all did y'all thing. Y'all raised some amazing young people to do some amazing things. So I don't want y'all to feel like, I'm discrediting y'all or anything like that. I definitely give y'all wholeheartedly credit. But you can't be, let's stop with the comparing generations, please. Like, it's no need for it. It's unnecessary, because it's like each generation is going to be different. And y'all, it's honestly not that serious. Like, each generation is each generation, but let's stop judging each other's generations and the decisions and how each generation operates just because we don't agree with it. You don't got to agree with it, but don't down another generation or try to make your generation seem better when your generation is nowhere near perfect. So yeah, y'all, that's all I have today. I really just wanted to talk about this because it's been an issue for quite some time. And y'all, I just feel like a lot of it's always the most important things that nobody ever wants to talk about. Like, everybody always wants to talk about things that don't matter, but we don't be talking about like the big societal issues that we go through and how we can be better as a society and better support each other and this, that, and the third. We live in a very judgmental society where folks just want to focus on everything that's negative. We need to support each other more. We need to love each other more. We need to focus on the positive things and the positive affirmations, because focusing on the negative and worried about everything that's negative is not going to get anybody nowhere. So y'all, I just wanted to bring awareness to that. Like, just enough with the comparing generations. Like, enough. Just accept each generation for what they are, what they bring, and be grateful that we're both able to be in this world and in this generation with each other. Together, you know. Sorry guys, I gotta chill. Yeah guys, we need to just accept each generation and understand that, you know, be grateful of where we are in life. Be grateful that we had the technology. You know, to the older generation, I know you guys didn't have it back then, but be grateful that you have it now. Be grateful that you have, you know, a younger generation that you can look down to, you know, and things like that. So, and younger generation, be grateful that you have older people to look up to. You know, we have a lot of support from our older generation. We have a lot of resources. Use it, you know. Just try to understand where they're coming from, you know, with the jealousy and, you know, things like that. You don't mean you gotta like it, but just understanding, you know, where it comes from. Older generation, don't be jealous. Don't be upset. It's not our fault. It's nothing to be jealous or upset about. Just accept us for the way we are and what we come with, and we will accept y'all for who y'all are and what y'all come with and what y'all generation has to offer. So yeah, y'all, that is it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Lock In Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Follow all my social media icons below and on the screen. And guys, I hope you guys have a great day/night, and I will see you guys in my next podcast episode. Oh, and remember, lock in or lock out. Period.
Period.
All right, y'all. See y'all in the next episode. Bye.